Hey everyone. So today I just wanted to make a quick guide for generating gold and saving gold because it is a constant struggle trying to maintain it for your grand exchange offers. So let's get right into this. Most people probably already know about the unique map Castaway. I don't have an example on my map currently, but it's pretty much identical to Untainted Paradise. So we can see Untainted Paradise has 200% increased experience gained, monsters drop no items. Castaway instead has between 500% and 1000% increased gold found in the map. And running one Castaway can get you about 750,000, maybe even a little bit more, maybe 800, 850,000 gold for one map. However, in the trade chat, usually Castaway maps go for one divine. Wants to sell, I'm going to assume he's selling it for one divine. That's usually the going price. So that is an option, but we don't need it to generate an insane amount of gold. Now this is a tip that I have covered previously. We can use exotic coinage, and then if we go to our order artifacts, wherever they are, you just have to look at them. We can then go to Rog, buy items, we type in rare, refresh the page, and we can just purchase. We can just purchase rares. I guess I'll just do one page. Okay, how long did that take? 10 seconds? 75,000 gold. Okay, 11,000 gold in 10 seconds. So you can generate millions of gold for what it would cost you to run one Castaway. Now, this is 0 fun per hour, but if you don't have a lot of currency, if you can't afford to run a Castaway for one divine, Rog should be your best friend. Now with this method, we can generate depending on how fast you go, we can generate up to 4 million gold an hour, which is honestly probably better than searching for someone selling Castaway. Because the time it takes you to search, oh, Trade Chat wants to buy Castaway paying one divine, whatever, or if you're searching global chat, whatever, and then you get invited and now you have to wait for other people to join, and then you still have to spend 5-10 minutes clearing the map. So at the end of the day, I think just buying rares from Rog is the way to go. So we can see exotic coinage, 3.5 exalts apiece. So you could get 100 pages of rares, 100 rerolls, or 350 exalts. And as for the order artifacts, and you could get 1,000 of these for another couple hundred exalts. You could probably slow purchase these. We can see they sell 28 to 1. So never buy 3 to 1. If I was buying order artifacts, I'd probably put in an offer for 10 to 1. So 100 exalts, 10 to 1, I'd let that slow purchase. It does cost a little bit of gold up front, but this is going to get you about 750 rares. They range from 1 to 2 order artifacts apiece. So for generating gold, I will say that Rog is king, even though purchasing all of those rares, clicking through all those windows, is absolutely 0 fun per hour. So next I have 2 tips on how to save so much gold. Now the first one also involves the currency exchange. So we can see we want exalts. We have a divine 1130 exalts. That is 135,000 gold. Unless you absolutely need exalts, I would recommend you purchase exalts from other players. Now, usually I would give the other player a better deal. So if divines are selling for 1100 exalts, I would probably type in trade chat wants to buy 1000 exalts for a divine, and then I put in like parentheses, a div is worth 1100 exalts on the grand exchange. Every time you do that, every time you find a player willing to sell you 1,000 exalts, that's 135,000 gold in savings. And the final gold saving tip is purchasing gold from other players. Now you might be asking yourself, what? You can't purchase gold from other players. Well, you can hire other players. And what I mean by that is you could type in trade chat, wants to buy gold, will pay 150 exalts per 100k you spend. Something along those lines. It's not super common currently, but just a few days ago, I was typing something similar to that in trade chat, and I found someone with 10 million gold who was willing to set up some currency exchange offers for me. And then you just kind of have to keep track of how much gold they're spending. So if you hire someone to fulfill a currency exchange offer for you, let's say you want some gem cutters. You need 500 of them. That's 502,000 gold. Now, if you don't have the gold for that, again, you could maybe find someone with 500,000 gold who'd be willing to fulfill an offer like this. And then while the offer sits, they can go do maps or whatever. And as soon as it buys, they trade you. You pay them for whatever they purchased. And then you give them a little bit more for however much gold they spent. So I'd say about 150 exalts per 100,000 gold. That kind of puts it in line with buying a Castaway for 1 divine, for about 750-ish thousand gold. Also, 501 gem cutters for 1 divine. You can get these 10 to 1 exalt. That is 50 exalts, by the way. I'm just throwing that out there. Now, we have tablets that have a pretty neat modifier that says plus up to 40% increased gold. And I do not recommend you run these for your average map, because there is almost no universe where you want to be giving up your tablet prefix modifier for increased gold. Absolutely do not want to be giving up, for example, increased rare monsters. Because losing 100% increased rare monsters for an extra 50 or 60,000 gold per map? Absolutely not. Unless there is one scenario where I would recommend using gold farming tablets, and that is when you get a cleansed zone with increased gold found in the area. So we can see this node, 106%, plus you could get another up to 120% from your tablets, usually probably about 115% if they're not perfectly rolled. And we can increase that by another 40% because we should be running 32% increased effect of precursor tablets. And then there's always the 1 in 5 chance for a 20% chance to double the effect of precursor tablets. So a juiced map like this with an Atlas proc, you can get upwards of 300,000, maybe even 400,000 gold from running just one map. And that is so worth it because the unique map Castaway, you're only going to get like 750, 800,000 gold. And to purchase a spot in one of those maps, that's a divine. So I do recommend having a gold farming tablet setup, preferably with breaches, just because of the number of monsters that spawn. You definitely would want like increased gold plus chance to contain an additional breach. And if you are absolutely starving for gold, make sure you're picking up all of your rares. I've been there. It does not feel good having to pick up all that garbage, but at the end of the day, you have to do what you have to do. So, little tip, move your map device closer to all of your, like, everything, because some people are running the default map device, like, up here in the middle of nowhere. Make sure it's close to your NPCs. So you leave a map with an inventory filled with rares, control-click Doriani that instantly identifies all of them, and then you alt-click Zolan, and you can just start selling things. It's that fast. And next, we can take this to another level. However, this next level does require playing with someone else, so I'm going to just show you a quick, like, rarity/gold bot. So we have a couple necessary items. We have the Alpha's Howl, and we can see that bottom modifier, your presence radius is doubled. So we can see my current radius, we can see that green circle, and if I put this on, it's now doubled, and if we highlight this again, we can see just how much more ground it's covering. And we want this specifically for Grave Bind. Enemies in your presence killed by anyone count as being killed by you instead, which means any gold or rarity increases you have, that is what is being applied to the enemy drops, even if someone else kills them. And for me, I just have the Morior Invictus with attributes and resistances. This equipment set is something I'd give to another player if I'm carrying them. It's only worth a couple hundred Exalts, so I wouldn't be too worried if someone ran off with my gear. But I have this, and then the final pieces that really bring this together. Any scepter that has increased presence area of effect, and then you can just get any, added damage modifiers for allies that you can afford. But we can see my radius, not too bad, and if we increase that by another 70%, we can now see it's covering the entire screen. So with only 2 items, if I am playing with someone and they're, over here getting kills, it's still being counted as if I was killing them. And this means that, again, if you're carrying someone, that person doesn't have to be right on top of you for the effects to trigger. And then we also have 20% increased quantity of gold dropped by slain enemies. And then typically you'd probably want 2 rarity rings like this, so we can see this has 80% increased rarity. Typically, if you're running a rarity bot, you would run 2 of these, or you could run 2 of these, 15% increased quantity of gold. So we have 30% here. That is an option. You could run 1 of each. Of course, we have an ingenuity for the about 30% increase to equipped rings. And of course, if you're not running unique boots, you can get rarity on your boots. And right now, my rarity on kill is 143%, and that's using only 1 rarity ring. We could easily get this to over 200, probably even close to 250% if we were really trying. But that's what a rarity bot looks like. Again, spec it for rarity, spec it for gold. You absolutely want increased gold on your gloves at the bare minimum. So that's an option if you have someone you can map with. And yeah, I think that is going to be just about it for today. As always, everyone, take care.